Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I took some wood and some fabric and made sound panels. So before we get started there, let me give you a quick tour around this room and show you what's going on. The walls have been painted, I painted the ceiling, just kind of painted everything in preparation for some sound panels that I'm creating. So I've got some fabric right here. I've got the sound panels coming in just a second, and I'm going to put these together over the next couple of days. So I'll show you what that looks like and we'll rock and roll. Here's what the sound panels look like. Now I use this really thick and heavy. I think it's 2x8, perhaps maybe 1x8, I can't remember. But this thing is hefty. And once I put insulation in it, it's going to be even more heavy. So here's what it looks like. And what this is it is 44 inches high. So if you think 44 inches from here to there, and then wide, you're about 32.5 inches. And with the insulation that I bought, I had to put two pieces in at one time to cover this side and that side. So this is the panel itself here. I'm about to get a piece of pegboard, which is what this fabric is going to wrap over. So we'll have the fabric over the pegboard. That'll be sitting right in here, like right inside the lip. And then behind this piece of wood, we'll put the two insulation pieces and then wrap that up on the back side, and then we will get these things up on the wall. I'm excited to hear the difference in here because, as you can probably tell, this is very echoey. There's nothing on the wall. It's hardwood floor, it's drywall. This thing has a lot of reverb in it. So we're hoping these panels are going to get rid of that. So I'll do a before and after test for you here as well. Here's the pegboard I got from Lowe's. Now, they sell these in humongous sheets, so since I have every kind of tool except a table saw in which to rip lengthwise on wood, the guys at Lowe's were very nice. They helped me cut these down to size. So what I would recommend, to take the work off of you a little bit, just have them cut them at Lowe's and then just take them home, and then they're ready to put into the panel. So these guys have been cut to precisely the right measurement to fit right there. So we're gonna dry run and test these real quick to make sure the fit's right, and then we will wrap it in fabric and see what it looks like. Probably make a note here. This is what is going to look like before the fabric goes in, but if you look kind of down here, if you can see it, it's not completely straight. There's a pretty big dip like right in there. So what I'll do is put some pieces of wood in this to give it some support in the parts that it's too far dipped, and then that should make it flat all the way across. Try to pick the straightest pieces that I could, and then at that point I put them together and I try to make them as square as I could. But if it didn't get completely square on my end, there are workarounds where I can try to fix that. We'll see how this turns out. There's a few dips in a few places, and that's just because it's not completely square. You know, the wood, like I said, is not completely square, and I got it as far as being the straightest boards, which I tried to pick the straightest boards, but no wood's perfect. And when I made the connections, it could have gotten out of square as well. Here's what I used for the backing for the fabric. It's 4x8 by 3/16. Here's how we're going to get these panels done. So, I've got the corkboard here. I've got my fabric upside down here. Step one is to center this board where I want the center to fall on the fabric. So let me show you a finished one so far. Okay. So here is one panel that's done. And what we did is we tried to center this guy here, dead center. And to do that, we just count the number of holes across here till we find the middle, and then we align that middle spot with this guy here or this right here. So that's what it's going to look like when it's done. was a lot faster. That was the second one we've done. So the key is to cut off the excess fabric before you staple it down, and also to make sure you use the right staple length. We used a 1/2 inch staple, and it went through on the first one all the way through the pegboard, and then we had to go back and hammer back in the sharp points, which was a nightmare. But this time we used, what was it, 1.25 or some kind of staples. Anyway, they're long enough to go through the fabric and into the pegboard, but to not pop out on the other side of the pegboard. So we're going to finish these up, and then we'll look at mounting the pegboard into the panel, and then putting the insulation in, and then getting them on the wall. So stay tuned. Here is the finished product. There is the pegboard wrapped in my fabric. I've got them in front of each panel they go into. So next steps are, we have to add some pieces of wood to the inside here, just enough for this thin piece of board to set on. Then we'll tie it into the panel. After that's done, I'll come around the back side back here, fill in my insulation, wrap that up, and then these bad boys are going on the wall. I want to show you guys what I'm using to get these big massive sound panels on the wall. So first thing I've got here is this Hangman picture hanging system, and it goes up to 200 pounds. Now my panels aren't near 200 pounds. However, these are still great for that. I want to have some more insurance on them. And what this looks like is there are two brackets here. If you can see on the back, you put one on the sound panel and you put the other one on the wall, and they're 18 inches long. So what that means is I can hit 2 studs on one piece. So I've already put one up. Let me show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you the process of how I put that together. Disregard my mess down at the bottom where I messed up before, but I put one of these in here like this right here, just screwed it in. My studs are there, and right there it's about 16 apart. And on the back side of the sound panel, which you can't see, is another one of these brackets, and it literally just sits on there and holds to it. So I'm going to let this sit for 24 hours just to ensure that it holds up, which I think it will. Should be just fine. And then I'm going to put another panel here and then 2 more over there. I'll show you the process of putting these brackets into the wall and into the studs and all that stuff. And then we'll start getting these things finalized so I can get my drum set up and good to go. One day later, panel's still up, still doing well. So we're going to do some more work today. First thing we're going to do is get the other panels up, and I'll kind of show you what I do for that. And then, if you notice, I'm sweating. I've been outside cutting things for the panel. So what I've done was I've made these little guys. They're out of 1x1 wood, very cheap at Lowe's, and I cut them in 1-inch squares. So what this is going to do is these are going to sit right in here. And that's where my panels are going to sit on. As far as the front panel with the fabric, it's going to just screw in right there. I'm going to have 6 of these. So 1 there, 1 at the bottom, 1, 2, 3. So that's going to give this guy something to screw into, and then the insulation goes behind that. So let's go ahead and get these next panels up. Per my measurement from the floor to this line right here, we're at 78 inches on the dot. That wasn't on purpose, that just happened to be 78. So luckily it's an even number. So I'm going to figure out where exactly on this wall I'd like my other panel to be, and then go up 78 inches, and that's where my mount's going to be. Generally speaking, that's probably about where I want it. Got a little space over here between the door and the panel, and then a little space in between these panels. Is probably going to be right. I'm not extremely worried about getting them perfectly centered from each wall and things like that. I mean, I probably will measure that just to be sure. It's probably more of an aesthetic thing more than an exact science and measurement. These panels are going to do a great job in here, but doesn't quite matter if I'm off 1 inch or 2 from either side. So let's see what this looks like. One thing I love about this hanging system is that it comes with a little bitty level. Now, I've got a level already. I've got a humongous level, actually. It's this big guy. I'll double check with him on my level, but when you're hanging this first bracket, you see right here it has this little spot, and then your level sets right in there. So you can make sure you're level the whole way through, and then I'll double check with this level. So let's get this up to 78 inches and we'll rock and roll. Here's some tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need your, obviously your hanging equipment, your drill with a drill bit. And this is actually going to be for the pilot hole. I just want to get something in there into the stud so I don't run into an issue. When I screw it in, it just stops and screws up everything. Screws up. Here's my stud finder and obviously a ruler. So the goal with these 18-inch long hanging systems are to hit 2 studs. Studs are 16 inches apart normally, so I should be able to hit 2 one time around. So first thing I want to do is find my pencil and mark out my studs in between this here. I'm going to go back and double check these lines, make sure there's no electric lines underneath the wall where I'm going to be screwing into the stud, and then we'll go from there. So that part's good. Got our studs ready to go. So now let's go ahead and measure up 78 inches and make a mark. So let's do this. The way this bracket goes, you go kind of, it's upside down. To me, it's upside down. The hole's on the bottom and this part goes on the top. If you can see, this top part is angled forward. That's what holds it and gives us its strength. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a pilot hole directly through. And what I'm looking for is if either any of these holes are going to line up with the other stud. Let me just double check this because I want to make sure it aligns perfectly. So we've got one there. Go over here, we're kind of right in between a hole. So if I move it down another one, and we're a little closer. If I move it over one more, no, it's too far. Okay, so we're going to have to, that's going to be our closest bet, is to use this end hole here. Okay. Okay, and we're just going to drill a pilot hole. Hole number 1. Good. Okay, now you got your hardware piece up here. I'm making sure it's perfectly level, which it says it is. So I'm going to go ahead and get one of these started here. And obviously you can use a drill for this. I just have bad luck with drills and drill bits, so I just prefer to just hand crank these guys in there. Again, that's my personal preference. It's up to you how you want to do that. Alright, we are perfectly level. Now, we're going to do the same thing with the drill bit as far as getting a pilot hole drilled. And I'm just looking, this hole right here is going to be right closest to the stud. So let's just go take a look here. Oh, yeah, perfect. Let's go ahead and get this second pilot hole drilled. And we'll get this thing up in no time. Yes. So good. All right, yeah, that's not going anywhere. Cool thing about this level as well is when you're done, just pop it out and you're good to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the last 3 screws in this guy here. Since there's no studs around, you really can put them wherever. I've got the outsides covered. I think I'll go in probably a couple there. Again, these are rated for 200 pounds, which is quite a bit. My panels are nowhere near 200 pounds, but they are very heavy. So I recommend going way beyond what you think you're going to need. It's always good to have that extra protection because these are going to be hanging out around my drum set, and if they fall, God forbid, it's going to do some damage for sure. So just definitely add some insurance where you can. And these are only $14.95 a piece at Lowe's. Angle iron will work as well if you have a way to cut it. I don't have a way to cut angle iron, so these work for my measurements. I have to finish staining this one here, so don't worry about that. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put the last part of our puzzle on here. So this is very similar to the last piece. You literally just put it, this one you put screws up versus screws down up there, and then this is what sets in the other piece. Here's the back side of the sound panel. I've got 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and now I'm going to put this up here. Voila, 2 of the panels are up. Okay, feeling good, nothing's collapsed yet. Everything looks to be around the same height. I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to put 2 more up here. and then we will get to the fun part of insulating and putting the panels actually together and then doing a sound test. Update time. All right, we've got 3 out of the 4 panels up. I'm gonna put one more right here and then we'll almost be done. If you made it this far, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Let's get this thing finished. Just a quick side note, in case you're wondering, I connected these 2 pieces of wood together using pocket holes. You can see them in there. And I did 3 to 4 per connection point, just for some extra stability. Yeah, and this one I did 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I love the pocket hole system, and I understand that there are stronger ways to connect 2 pieces of wood, and if you have the tools and the time to do that, then I would recommend doing that. But for the equipment that I had, this is what works for me. So whatever works for you, just make sure those connection points are strong and tight. They are all up. Good morning. All right, today's a big day. We're gonna put the insulation in, these sound panels, and we're gonna get the front covers on them. So let me show you the insulation I'm using first. This is R15 Roxol Comfort Bat and 16-inch on center. So I'm gonna fit 2 of these into one of these. Ideally, we'll have one on each side. I'm sure at the top it's gonna be a little short, so it might be kind of crammed in there a little bit, but again, that's fine because the panels are going over it. So it's gonna be a good day. Before I put the insulation in, I wanna give you guys a sample of what this room sounds like with nothing on the walls and a snare drum. So I'm gonna hit this a few times, let you hear what this room naturally sounds like, and then I'll do an after shot with the room filled with insulation to see if you can hear a difference. So let me show you the snare I'm gonna use. The snare that I'm gonna use is from my custom Pearl Masterworks kit. This is a 14x5 20 ply mahogany and maple and bubinga. Let me make a disclaimer real quick. This snare drum has been in a case protected for about 6 months, so it hasn't been tuned at all since I put it away way back in September, November of last year. So if the sound quality as far as the tuning is bad, don't worry, I didn't touch it. I just wanted to pull it out of the case, put it on there, let you try it out. I'll do a tuning of these and give you a room sound with the panels up after this. So just a little disclaimer. Snares off. One thing here, you see how this is kind of bent and kind of cracking a little bit? That's okay. I knew these were going to be a little too long, but instead of cutting these and creating a huge mess, I'm just going to leave them like they are, put that panel up against it to flatten it out and compress it, and then we'll be good to go. As you can see, I'm sweaty. I'm tired, but it's been a great day. I've got all the panels up, as you can see around me here. 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. Worked out well. As you probably saw in the time lapse, the insulation's just a touch too long for the panels, and that's my fault. I didn't make the panels high enough to fit them in there just perfectly, so you saw them kind of bend and crack a little bit. That's fine. It's still insulation. I can tell a difference already in the room. It's a lot less reflective than it was, a lot less lively than it was. I didn't want to deaden this room so much that it lost all sense of its liveliness, if that makes sense. I wanted to have some reflection still. I don't want to record drums in a room that's completely absorbent to everything. So this is a happy medium. I'll probably put a couple more, maybe one there and one there. I'm probably going to leave these two blank, although I could put a couple of skinny ones here and here. I'm also considering some panels on the ceiling, maybe something like this guy right here is the cloth kind of look, and I might put those in the ceiling, just depending. So anyway, panels turned out beautiful. I love them. They're great. And one thing I like about them in particular is that they're not perfect. I know my limits. I know what I'm capable of, and this is okay for me. You know, imperfect is fine. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really enjoyed having you along with me on the journey. You know, I've been working on this by myself for a while, so doing this video is kind of like having some friends over to help me out, and I'd love to hear your feedback. If you want to comment below, let me know what you think. But I hope you like this. I hope you could hear the difference, and then as soon as I get these drums set up, I'll go ahead and get you a mix going as far as what it sounds like in the room with EQ and effects and all that stuff on the drums, and then just the drums dry in the room. So, did you hear a difference? I could hear a little bit of a difference. I mean, just from being here, I can definitely tell a difference, but it might not have come across clearly on the video. But for me, that high end is what got taken down quite a bit. If you listen closely and go back, there's a ring at the end of the snare hit, and that seemed to be kind of contained a little bit more with these panels. So really, comment below, let me know if you can hear a difference. On laptop speakers, probably won't be able to hear a difference, but if you have headphones or something like that, I'd love to hear whatever you're hearing. So for me, I can definitely hear it, but I'm not sure that it's translating over this GoPro microphone. So thanks for tuning in, guys. See ya.